Alright, this is graphing linear equations from key features. So, essential question, how do I graph linear equations when I'm given key features? Well, there's usually two ways, or two types of things they'll give you. They'll either give you both intercepts or one intercept and the slope. So, if you're given both intercepts, you can graph by plotting the x-intercept on the x-axis. And you can plot the y-intercept on the y-axis. And then you just draw a straight line and connect the dots. Okay, so that's one way. The second way is if I have one intercept and the slope, I can plot whatever intercept they give me on the same axis. So like y-intercept on the y-axis, x-intercept on the x-axis. And then you draw a straight line again through all the plotted points. So let's do some examples. So I want to graph the linear equations below. So look at number 1. The first thing I have is an x-intercept of 1, 0. So on the x-axis, I go over to 1, put a point. Okay, and now it gives me a y-intercept, 0, -3. So on the y-axis, I go down to -3, put a point. And then now I can draw a line and connect the dots. So there is my linear equation. Now the last thing we need to find is slope. So remember from before, slope is rise over run, where rise is up or down, run, I always go to the right. You can go backwards, but I go left to right on the points. It just makes it easier. So if I start from the left point and go to the right point, I want to count the rise first. So obviously I'm going to go up. So from here I count up 1, 2, 3. So I'm going up 3, and then I go over 1. Okay, so my slope is 3 over 1. Whoa. There it goes. So my slope again is I go up 3 over 1, so it's 3 over 1 because it's always rise on top. So we do 3 over 1, which can be reduced to just 3. Okay, and because it's going up, it's positive. If it was going down, it'd be negative. So my slope right here is just 3. And we're done with that question. Okay, moving on. This one, we're missing the x-intercept. We have the y-intercept, and we have the slope. Okay. So let's start with the y-intercept, which I want to make sure I'm coordinating my colors. So y-intercept on the y-axis, we go to 1, put a point. And now we need to use the slope to find the next point. Okay, so remember, the top is always rise, but because we're negative, negative goes down, and then the run is to the right. So I'm going to go down 1, right 4, starting from my y-intercept. So from here, I go down 1, and then right 4. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to put a point right here. Now notice that point is also on our x-axis, right? So this is our x-intercept. So that point would be 4, 0. So we got the x-intercept by just plotting the next point. And then now that I have 2 points, I can connect the dots. Ooh. So you just draw a straight line. And we're done. So again, because the slope was negative, we go down. If it was positive, we go up. Okay, let's move on to number 3. This one gives us the x-intercept and the slope. So here's our x-intercept is 3, so I go on the x-axis. I go over to 3, put a point. I don't know the y-intercept yet, but I can use my slope to find a point. Okay, so because my slope is positive, this would be going up 4 and right 3. Okay, and again, when you do slope, you always have to start from whatever point you have. You can't just start from anywhere, and you don't start from the middle either. So always start from the point that you've already plotted. So from here, I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then right 3. 1, 2, 3, and then I put a point right here. Now I can connect the dots and make a straight line, but you might end up, because as you notice, we don't have our y-intercept plotted just yet. So what I would do, just to make sure you have it correct, is instead of going, so we went up and right to find this point, I want to go backwards to make sure I get the right y-intercept over here. So instead of going up and right, I'm going to go down and left. So from this point, I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then left 1, 2, 3. And that would give us another point. Ooh. I don't know what is up with this. So we went down 4, left 3, and we did that because from here, if we go up and right, we get a point, but we don't have the y-intercept. So just in case, because if you draw a line and you are not completely straight through, you might end up with an incorrect y-intercept. So just to make sure, once I go up and right, I go backwards, you go down and left, and I have a point here. So my y-intercept is very easy to see now. It is 0, -4. And this camera is going crazy. So now that we have, look, we have 3 points, which is even better. So I can connect all 3 points. And we have our line. All right, so let's go to the last one. Last one is just like the first one. So it gives us the x-intercept. I hope this is the right one. No, it's not. So we have x-intercept is -1, 0. So on the x-axis, I go to -1, put a point. Our y-intercept is 0, -2. So on the y-axis, I go to -2, put a point. So now that I have both intercepts, I don't have to really worry about plotting another point because I already have 2. So I can go ahead and connect these 2 dots right here. So I have my line, but I still need to go ahead and figure out the slope. So again, I go from left to right. So from left to right, I'm going to go down 1, 2, and then over 1, or right 1, sorry. Okay. So because I went down, our slope would be -2, and I went over 1, just like that. And we can reduce that to just -2. So our slope would be -2. And that's how you graph linear equations from given key features.